Hello again, and welcome to the first lecture in this course. So in this lecture, I just want to discuss a couple things before we jump right into programming itself. I want to talk a little bit about programming as a whole, and then a bit about R specifically, and then talk about a couple other things. But I'm going to start with talking to you about what a programming language actually is. And actually before that, I need to talk about what a computer is. So as you can see in this beautiful graphic that I've created, a computer is something that takes an input, and input can really be anything from numbers to sounds to anything else you could think of. It manipulates that input in some way, and then it produces an output. So a programming language is something that allows you to tell the computer what that manipulation in that middle step is going to be. It's telling it how you want to manipulate the input in order to get the output that you want. Now, R specifically is good for a couple different things. It's good for data organization and manipulation. It's good with dealing with really large data sets, ones that are maybe too large to deal with in Excel or some other spreadsheet software. And then it's also really good for making very pretty graphs of that data. Some things that are really great about R, it has really easy to understand syntax. So what that means is if you were to read my code, you could probably tell kind of what it's doing because the functions are generally English words, which sometimes they're not, and the formatting makes a lot of logical sense. So it's not a huge leap in understanding to be able to read code. So that's what makes it great as a beginner language for someone to start out with when they're first learning to write code. The second thing that makes it really awesome is its user community. And as you start looking online at all these R resources, you'll see that R's true power comes from the power of all its users. All these users online collaborating to make R a better language, to write their own code for others to use, writing packages for others, and really helping each other out a lot. So I've made a little flowchart here of kind of what your experience is going to be as you learn to code. You're going to be introduced to a data problem of some sort, and you'll have to come up with a way to solve that with programming. Then you'll write your code and run it, and a lot of the time your code is not going to work on the first time. Here's what I want to really emphasize is that getting frustrated with your code is completely normal. And it happens to everybody. And that's really how you learn to be a better coder is you figure out where you're prone to make mistakes, and then you watch out for yourself in the future and you pick up on those mistakes and fix them before you even run your code. I'm saying this because it's really easy to give up on something after you've been trying it over and over again and you still can't figure out where your mistake is. You just have to keep pushing forward. I promise you it will get easier. And if you're getting really stuck, you can always write in the comments, you can ask questions, and we'll all help each other out and try to figure out the answer. So speaking of answers, if you want to try to figure out whatever problem it is you're having, if you want to try and figure it out by yourself, here are a couple really good resources for you to look at. You can always just Google your question, of course, and you can always write your questions in the comments here. But these are a couple of the websites that you can really trust to have good answers. Mostly the first and the third one, and the second one's more variable, but it's generally a good source as well. So the first one is the Cookbook for R, and it's at cookbook-r.com. It's a really excellent site. I use it all the time because it has really good examples, specifically for the ggplot2 graphing package, which we'll be working on mostly in the third week of this class, but it also has really good support for other basic functions. The second website is called Stack Overflow, and this is a forum for asking questions. So they have a lot of question boards, but the link that I've included here is the R programming questions board. And on there, you'll find that probably if you have a question, somebody else has already run into that problem and asked the question, and there will often be an answer to your exact problem on the forum somewhere. The last one is the Comprehensive R Archive Network, cran.rproject.org, and this is the source for R. So this is where we're going to go actually to download R in the first place. So this is really the most trustworthy site because it's actually the page for the R developers. And if you search around a little bit, you can find descriptions of all the packages, of a lot of the different functions, but that's just for the basic R packages that come when you download R. All three of these sites are really good sources to find answers or just to kind of search around to see what R is capable of. Because though I will cover a lot of stuff in this class, it is nowhere near as much as R can do because R has just a huge range of abilities. And I really don't get anywhere close to covering them all in this class. So now that we've talked a little bit about what a programming language is, what R is good for specifically, and how to get help with your programming questions, let's jump in.